League for this venue tonight and all of you for attending. And I'm honored and humbled by your confidence and trust you placed in me to serve you as town supervisor. I pledge that I will continue to work hard to create open, transparent, democratic government in Caroline. Both the town board and the town supervisor have two main responsibilities. The first is to manage the tax levy and spending, and the second is to provide for the health, safety, and well-being of our community. The facts are that when I was elected 18 years ago, the tax rate in Caroline was nearly $7 per thousand. And this year's tax rate is down to $6 per thousand. This is a result of steady planning and was accomplished by fiscal responsible decisions by all elected officials over the years, and especially the highway superintendent, who manages 70% of our expenditures. In addition, over the same time, the elected officials in the town of Caroline have secured over $2.5 million of federal and state tax dollars for construction, stream stabilization, and housing rehabilitation for low-income families. And the town board does not provide for the health, safety, and welfare of the community in a vacuum. They do this in response to input from the community. After considerable public input, in 2005, the town adopted a comprehensive plan. And this document provides the town board with the community's vision and specific policy direction, including Caroline citizens do not want zoning. I've heard political rhetoric this fall that if certain town board candidates are elected, they will enact the zoning. Let me be clear. No town board, current or future, can enact zoning with the current comprehensive plan. The vision for Caroline's future is described in the comprehensive plan, and it is not an industrial landscape. Gas drilling is the biggest issue facing our town in generations. It's time once again for the town board to respond to the concerns of the community, to be proactive and do the hard work necessary to provide for the safety, security, and well-being of our community, and preserve our rural, independent way of life.
Are there any questions for Mr. Barber? Yes.
Rich Anderson from Brooktondale. I've lived here for 22 years and have seen kind of an ebb and flow of kind of polarization. Sometimes it gets worse, and then sometimes that seems like people are working together, and I'm sure you've observed this too. I'm hoping that we can work together across the aisle and see where we have things in common. I'm just hoping that you would comment on some of those issues.
I'm not sure exactly which issues you want to comment, because there have been a number of them over the years, but I will say that actually the town is working through a democratic process at all these times, even if there are differences of opinion, and people hold them very strongly. So that is a natural part of democracy, something we shouldn't fear, we should actually embrace. And I've been very thrilled and excited about the democratic process. Both 4 years ago when we were talking about the noise law, and this current year when we were talking about natural gas. People coming and speaking their truth, what they believe, to the town board, and that's how the town board can understand what the community is looking for.
Yes.
Tony Tabelli. I would ask, there's a lot, and you mentioned over and over, just democracy. What type of government is of this land? We just pledge allegiance to it. Can you explain how it works? And safety valves in it?
Can you say the first part of the question again? I'm sorry.
What type of government actually rules this land in the United States? We just pledge allegiance to it. There's plenty of democracy going on. What is our government? If you can explain that, and what are the safety valves in it to protect us? Why is it written the way it is? And why do we have what we have?
I don't know if you could hear the question, but essentially it wants me to give a 4-hour presentation on what is democracy. But democracy, but democracy in the town of Caroline and in the United States is the same. And that democracy is of, for, and by the people, which means that the people that are elected are one of you, and they work for you, and they work with you. And that's what democracy is all about. And so in the town of Caroline, we have town board meetings that are open to the public. We provide all our information on what we're doing to the public. and we're available for comment, and then we listen to that and then use our judgment, what we've heard, to make the decisions on how we are going to vote on a specific issue.
Next question? Any other questions for Mr. Barber?
Can I ask another?
I guess we can. Could you make it specific to town?
I will read it so
Caroline?
Don can respond. Right?
And-
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
As soon as I
Can I
get
ask a
done.
question?
No.
Can I ask Mr. Barber if he could summarize what he understands to be his greatest
I'll read it
accomplishments
and then he
as
can
town superintendent?
Could you sit down? Remember
Oh, I
I
thought you
said,
needed permission to ask.
well, we got another question. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I would just like to ask Mr. Barber if he would mind summarizing what he understands to be his greatest accomplishments as town superintendent.
I'm not sure it's a great accomplishment, but it's something that I strive to have happen, and that is to involve the community as much as possible in the decision-making process. So when we have an issue come before the town board or that's been brought up by the community, I seek to create an advisory board that has people from different perspectives that sit on that board, and they then debate and bring forward a recommendation for the town board. So that we do this for two reasons. One is to involve people in the government process. Number two is to save the money of having a staff person that does this, and then the town board still has to go through and determine the pulse of the community. So it kills two birds with one stone. And other than that, I would say that, done already? Okay, I get one more second then. The other thing is I've been very proud of the fact that we've been able to manage our money very conservatively over the time I've been on the town board. We have not increased staff. We're still running with a bare bones staff, and we are able to, with that bare bones staff, and with a tremendous amount of effort put in by the elected officials, we're able to bring in over $2.5 million of our money from the state and federal government to the town. Now stop sign. Got it.
There's been a request for not having personal conversations. The reason being that people can't hear the statements. You had a question.
Milton Town. I guess I remember we had a conversation last month about the idea of an advisory board on gas issues, and I had asked for your support on the idea of creating an advisory board and people taking steps towards creating it. And I was wondering, do you support the idea of an advisory board for gas development issues?
Well, I remember the conversation, and I remember the end of the conversation was for a proposal on what this board's responsibility would be and what the scope of work would be for that board. Because if the scope is to redevelop the science, then I think it's beyond what our board really needs to handle. If it's on the scope of the issues that the town board can deal with, then I'm more than happy to work with that. Although we do have the Council of Governments has had task force to work on all the different issues that the town board has the responsibility for control over. So I'm looking for that proposal as what this committee would do, and then I'm more than happy to
I
respond
think
to
I
it.
sent it to you. I mean, I'll send it to you, so
That'd be
you
great.
support the idea of an advisory board on gas issues?
Not only for gas issues, but for all
Well,
issues.
but particularly for gas issues?
Sure. But we need to work on what the scope of work would be.
Or maybe you could say what you think the scope should be.
I think we had, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to give, there was a gentleman in the back who had a question.
The conversation was about that it was very difficult for a couple people to hear, and he wondered about getting some sort of voice reinforcement system set up, because he has trouble hearing the questions, and he has trouble hearing the responses and answers. And
Okay.
he wondered if we should object or just let the meeting go on, so.
I see you moved up to the front. That's one way we can resolve the problem. Anybody else in the back having difficulty hearing? Oh, you are.
I would ask that when people ask questions, they stand up so that everybody can hear the questions.
And face the audience. Okay, very good.
And there are still 10 seats up front.
Yes.
This doesn't cost extra for these seats.
Also, I can have a microphone over here in 10 minutes if you like.
Rich, can you do that? Because I think it'll help.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
We're going to have to stop the questions for Mr. Barber. He has three minutes for his closing statement.
I was born and raised about 3 miles from the western border of Carolina. but I fully recognize this makes me a carpetbagger. My earliest memories are of all my grandparents, aunts, and uncles living within 1 mile of my house. I grew up with a menagerie of farm animals around, with ponds, meadows, fields, and forests, which had rust-run equipment on the edge. This ecosystem, the harness is still hanging in our barn, the steel-hard hands of teamsters, with reminders of our country life. It was changing due to cheap energy. Our neighbors were all fiercely independent farmers. They valued community and met regularly at grain suppers and church. I don't remember unemployment. Even we children had daily chores that were needed in harvesting, putting food by, laundry, and caring for siblings and grandparents. This is the country life that created our landscape and foundations for our social values. Working on the farm with my dad, I developed an abiding love and respect for the land, air, water, and animals that gave their lives for us. In this farming community, I learned that the value of honest, hard work was the noblest effort of mankind. Integrity was considered of more worth than gold. And he always gave homage to a greater force than himself. And that force was not money. After college, I worked for a Fortune 500 company. That company culture tore all my values and caused me to leave employment with heavy industry after 10 years. This money-centered value system is not our values, and is why I will fight corporate culture poisoning my town. In my early 30s, I returned to my homeland and my country values. I began homesteading near family and got involved with community life, just like Aaron Snow is doing now. I started a construction business based on integrity, so I would never rely on another person for my paycheck. I've made several trips to Pennsylvania and witnessed the end of country to our south. I've been on a Marcellus shale rig. I've seen the land torn apart, and the raw power shake the earth like the community's moral foundation as it bores into their homeland. I saw the landscape change to industrial zones and spoke with their community members and leaders. They don't speak the language of country anymore. I will defend the work and values of our forefathers. It is those values, their inherent wisdom, and my lifetime of owning a small business, farming, and rural New York experiences that form my moral compass. I love our community, our value system, and our way of life. I pledge to you that I will protect it. I seek your support on November 8th. Thank you.